Welcome back to Instant Analysis. I'm Riley Sager. He's Connor Morrissette. Today's Wednesday of Northwestern week. USC Trojans are hosting Northwestern at the Coliseum on Friday, 6 p.m. kickoff Pacific. Connor, how are you? And first takeaways.
I'm doing well, Riley. How are you?
Good.
Injuries today. So, Jacoby Lane, we didn't see him yesterday, or maybe he came out late. He was out today in pads with his helmet. Looked like a full participant, so that's a great sign. Alani Noah, who did not come out in pads yesterday and then maybe went back in and changed into pads halfway through. Chris and I were a little confused on that. He came out in pads today. A good sign for his availability. Not sure if Noah will be able to play Friday, but the fact that he was out there today in pads is a good sign. Jacoby Lane looks like he will be able to play. Jakeem Stewart did not practice today. That continues his thing of practicing Tuesday but not Wednesday, so that'll be something to pay attention to. But he's played all these games, clearly dealing with some injury. I would expect him to play unless the injury got worse yesterday, which I don't think that happened, so I think he's still on track. But that was the big three. Still some offensive line stuff outside of Noah where some guys are dealing with some bumps and bruises, but that was the big those three were the big ones. And if you want a full answer on all the injury stuff, Chris and I went a little bit more in depth yesterday, but that's the big three.
We saw defensive players. We saw Coach Lynn. We saw Coach Riley. Biggest thing from that.
So Coach Riley talked today because he is not doing a Zoom due to the short week with Northwestern playing Friday. Well, I was just curious, Riley. I rewatched the game from Nebraska today, and Lincoln Riley was really upset after the second intentional grounding call on Jade Mayava, but when we asked him today, he said it was really the first call that set him off, and then he was hilarious. He said, my youngest daughter knows that wasn't intentional grounding, and NBC on the broadcast pointed out, Terry McCauley, the analyst, that it should not have been called intentional grounding because Harry Dalton was in the area. Riley said he hasn't gotten the feedback from the Big Ten Conference yet. Maybe it'll be in his inbox by the time he was done with practice, but he was not happy with that call. That's what that was all about, so it was good to get some insight into that. Makes a lot of sense. The second one I do think was the right call because Mayava didn't quite get the ball back to the line of scrimmage. And then I asked Lincoln Riley today, 8 games in, what are you most proud of with this team, and what do you want to continue to work on the most? And he said he's most proud of the fact that they've overcome so many injuries this year, which makes a lot of sense to me, especially on the offensive line. We talked a lot about that on the Peristyle podcast today, just how impressive it's been when USC's had someone go down or multiple guys go down. The offensive line really hasn't missed a beat much this year. And he said we want to continue to work on playing our best football at the best time here heading into November, the home stretch, which is a huge emphasis, obviously. He said that last week, and then I didn't think USC played a great game against Nebraska, so I'm interested to see how they bounce back against Northwestern.
Yeah, certainly a lot of injuries on both sides of the ball, but like you said, the offensive line, it just seems like one after the other. So you said Alani Noah was practicing this week?
Yes.
That's a great sign.
Yes, it is, and if he's back, he'll go back to right guard. But what's so crazy is when Killian O'Connor went down, yes, John Ray Reed had that mistake against Illinois, but for the most part, he's been solid. A false start against Nebraska, but he's been good. It hasn't been a huge drop-off. And Kalen Miller, there was no drop-off from Alani Noah. And when Tobias Raymond or Justin Tauanu, for the most part, has had to play left tackle in place of Elijah Page, it's been good. So we'll see what the offensive line looks like against Northwestern. If Killian O'Connor can come back, Lincoln Riley said yesterday he's been progressing well, but didn't provide any update there. If not, it'll be Reed again at center. If Noah's back, he's back. If not, it'll be either Kalen Miller or Micah Banuelos. All those guys have been serviceable this year, which we look back to last year when USC made a tweak on the offensive line. It usually wasn't a good thing. Got better as the year went on, but early in the year wasn't very good. It's been really, really incredible what they've been able to do this year.
Yeah, certainly a difference maker. Now, defensive side of the ball, it seems like every time you ask one of the players or Coach Lynn, like, what do you see from Northwestern on film? They said physicality, experienced O-line. But what did Coach Lynn say about the O-line?
He said the offensive line for Northwestern is probably the best that USC's seen to this point, which really stood out to me. I tweeted that out. You don't hear coaches talk about that a lot. It was great to hear Lynn give Northwestern that respect. And the running game for Northwestern has been pretty good, so that's certainly an emphasis. And USC, for as well as they started rushing the passer, Anthony Lucas had a nice sack that knocked out Dylan Raiola against Nebraska, but that was USC's only sack in that game. Nebraska really emphasized getting the ball out quick. we'll see if USC can get to Preston Stone, the Northwestern quarterback, this week with a better offensive line. I imagine Northwestern has a little bit more trust in that offensive line, where Stone will probably sit back in the pocket a little bit longer, but he has thrown 9 interceptions this year to 10 touchdowns, so he has made some mistakes. It's going to be a big game for USC's pass rush this week against Northwestern with that experienced offensive line and with a quarterback who at times has made some mistakes.
Yeah, he's actually leading the Big Ten in interceptions, so that's important to note. Anything from the guys?
A few things from the guys. So Kamari Ramsey, I asked him about getting more comfortable playing that nickel position, because last year he played it a little bit, but this year he is playing it pretty much exclusively with the injuries that they've had. Prophet Brown not being able to play this year, Alex Graham getting hurt before the year, and Ramsey said, yes, I'm getting more comfortable. It's one thing to watch film, it's another thing to practice, but the best thing you can do is just play games. And I thought Ramsey had one of his best games of the season against Nebraska. He was in coverage on 2 completed passes that Nebraska had, but they went for -1 yards. So he was really good at the line of scrimmage, really good playing in space, and I think that's going to continue against Northwestern, because their passing attack, it's been okay at times, but this is a team that I look at with Northwestern where I think USC secondary, for some of the faults that they've had, I like how they're playing right now, and I think that this is a good matchup for them against a quarterback who's been up and down, some receivers who are good, but no great receiver on this team. It's going to be a big week for Ramsey, and the fact that he's getting more comfortable at that spot is significant, and it certainly looks that way when you watch the games.
Yeah, Northwestern's also running the ball over half the time, so it'll be interesting to see how USC, establishes that up front with the front guys, if they can put a stop to that and maybe force Stone to throw those passes, which, as we said with the stats and, his throwing and the lack of elite receivers, should go in USC's favor.
Yeah, getting off to a hot start will be a big thing this week, because USC's at home. They played much better at home, but the fact that when you just look at how USC's played this year, the slow starts have hurt them, and they were able to overcome it against Nebraska. I don't think Northwestern is the team that's capable of playing from behind, where if USC goes up 2 scores quickly, they're probably going to be in control of the game. So that's a big emphasis. If it doesn't happen, as we saw against Nebraska, USC can overcome it, so it's not the end of the world, but Lincoln Riley's talked about wanting to play the best football at the best time. A hot start is a part of that.
What other guys are you excited to see on the field on Friday? Coach Lynn was talking about Marcellus Williams, Desmond Stevens, their performance recently.
Desmond Stevens, we'll see how he does after playing what Lincoln Riley described as his best game as a Trojan against Nebraska, which I agree with. Desmond Stevens was awesome. Coach Lynn today talked about how with Stevens, he just took the coaching last week. They challenged him. They wanted him to play more downhill, do a better job of leveraging the ball, do a better job of filling his gaps, and he did just that. Tape backed it up. I rewatched the game this morning. I forget if I said that or not. I think I did. So he really stood out to me. He was great, and we'll see if he can continue to build that. I thought Danton Lynn shouting out Matai Tagovailoa was interesting too, where he didn't play a whole lot, and in the one series that he was in there, Nebraska completed a big pass to their tight end down the seam. Dylan Raiola did a nice job of faking a short pass that kind of got Tagovailoa's attention. And I don't know if he was out of position, but the pass just went right over his head and to the tight end. The fact that he's in the game as a true freshman at Nebraska is significant. He clearly has shown in practice that he can be trusted. And when we look at guys at the end of the year who are starting to play, it's him, it's Carlin Jones, guys who've earned the trust of the defensive staff. So the fact that Tagovailoa is doing that is significant, and it's great to see him in the mix. We'll see how big of a role he'll have moving forward. I asked Lynn if Tagovailoa reminds him of Eric Gentry at all, knowing Eric Gentry's a one-of-one unicorn, but he said Lynn did some of Tagovailoa's play reminds him of Gentry, but there's some stuff Tagovailoa can do that no one else can do on the roster. There's some stuff that Gentry can do that no one else can do, but they do have similar bodies and some similarities. So Gentry will be gone after this year. If Tagovailoa can step in and play like Eric Gentry, that would be huge.
Yeah, I think it's great that he's getting those reps now. Not every rep is going to be perfect when you're starting and you're going in and, being compared or playing with someone like Eric Gentry. I'm sure that's a lot of pressure, but that's also someone who can help build you as a player. Absolutely.
And Eric Gentry, we've heard so much about him being the emotional leader of this team when things haven't gone right. He's been right in the middle of picking guys up and just saying, hey, look, our standard is the standard. We can get back on track. I remember after USC lost to Notre Dame, Gentry came out of the tunnel and said to Chris and I, "What, you guys don't think we're going to go undefeated the rest of the way? Why do you guys look so upset? What's wrong?" I don't know why we looked upset that day, but he thought we were frowning, and he just really is the heartbeat of this team, and there's a reason he's been a captain. If it's not every game, it's been just about every game. And he just has so much fun out there. It's so fun to watch him play. When he makes a play, he'll joke around with the opposing sideline. He knocked the football out of the backup quarterback's hand for Nebraska. It went out of bounds. But, I feel like when he talks to the opposing team, it's a lot of "Oh, I bet you didn't think I was doing that." And I'm sure there's some trash talk, too. It's just really fun to watch him play. And enjoy these last 4 games with him and 5. We'll see how USC does. But it's great that he's been healthy this year. And, yeah, I'm a big Eric Gentry guy.
Back in fall camp, someone had asked him, what's your favorite part of playing on the road? And he said, just engaging with the fans, trash talking, just some friendly competition. But he is so involved in the game. It's not just going on the field playing his reps. It's he is lifting the guys up, like you said. He's holding them accountable, too. Absolutely.
And last year when he went out, there's a reason the defense backslid. He was such a key cog in that machine. So he is one of those leaders, and it's going to be a big game for him against Northwestern. The fact that he can cover from that linebacker position is great. And personally, I want my Patriots to draft him, but let's not put the cart before the horse.
One thing at a time, Connor.
Yes.
Anything else from the guys tonight?
Devin Tompkins was the other guy I talked to. He said the short week didn't really change much of the approach for him. He's going in, treating every game, every day the same, and just trying to be regimented. So he seems to be in a really good spot. And he had a nice game again. He continues to put some plays together, and he's a guy in there who's so versatile, where he's on the edge sometimes, in the middle of the defense sometimes. He seems to be in a good way. Didn't seem too banged up or anything. Seems healthy, seems recovered, and I expect him to play well Friday.
Yeah, in regard to the edge, he was saying, if they need me there, I'm not saying they did, I'm not saying they didn't, but he's just going to do what he's told. He's going to give his best effort. So I really liked his mentality when he was talking about that. Just very selfless, going in when needed. The other thing, recovery. Guys were asked, what are you doing this week? Kamari Ramsey talking about sleep, whether it's the Theragun, the boots, the Normatec, ice baths, just doing whatever you can to maximize that side of things. Everything that's in your control that you can do this week, they're doing.
It's a huge emphasis every week, but even more of an emphasis on the short week, especially when Northwestern's going to be even more well-rested coming off of a bye week. It's that time of year where everyone is going to have a bump or a bruise, and it's just all about overcoming it, and it's why I never played football. Not tough enough. These guys are tough as hell.
Well, this is part of the season where teams separate themselves, so we will see on Friday in the Coliseum against Northwestern. I'm Riley Sager. He's Connor Morrissette. Thanks again.